And welcome, folks, to the talk show. Let the truth be told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show. We're going to talk more about what's going on with the judge's order for President Trump to halt Doge and stop what he's doing with the deportations, as well as the forensic audit that Doge is doing. So if you ain't got nothing to do, y'all come on in, sit down, relax, and let us get the show on for you. Thank you. And folks, we got a great show today. So if you ain't got nothing to do, y'all come on in. But first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yeshua of Nazareth, for making it possible for me to be here. And I want to welcome all the first-time listeners and regular listeners. Continue to share it around. The word is getting around about Let the Truth Be Told, and people are finding out that this is all about educating the American citizens. I want to start out by saying this to the American people and patriots across this country. We have seen war against the American people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all have seen it through COVID. That was the implementation of all the things that we saw with the transgender world. They've continued to psychologically attack the American people. And right now, I want the American people and patriots across this country to understand that we are in a psychological war. Now that President Trump has got back into the White House, you would think as an American citizen, and you would think that the politicians who work for the American people, when they go to Washington, they are there to look out for the best interests of the American people. But in the last 4 years, especially beginning under Barack Obama, we saw the change. We saw the psychological attack so that they can continue to try to make the American people accept the abomination lifestyle of the transgenderism and all of that. And so not only did they attack us through physically, but they continue to attack us psychologically. They've attacked our children in the schools. And y'all know all of these things have already happened. So this psychological war continues. Now that President Trump is back into office, as he continued to examine records and huge Doge with Elon Musk, you would think that the American people are happy. We are happy that it's going on. But the Democratic Party is opposing it. They're fighting us finding out what they've done with our taxpayer dollars, and we've already saw what they've done with all the fraud, waste, and abuse. And so today, we want to do an informational show. We want people to share this around. We're going to give you great information, and you need to think. Use your common sense to know that if you work for the American people, why would you be upset if President Trump is doing the right thing? And in saying that, I want to bring my co-host in. Hey, Doc, welcome to the show today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good, good, good. Doc, your thoughts on this. Now, you know we are in a psychological warfare. And like I'm saying to the people that are watching the show tonight, we have to start being thinkers and understand that the federal government that's under certain leadership, that's been under the Democratic leadership, have continued to psychologically try to change us, the thought pattern in our children, all of those things. Doc, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's unfortunate because they're still using their old playbook from the 60s and 70s that worked, right? When it's like, look, you can't go with them because they're not for you, we're for you. But their actions are not showing that. And it's interesting because, your actions and your words should match up and theirs aren't. And it's very basic what's going on with the Democratic
Mhm.
Party, but they're just not in alignment with what they say. They're like, we love you guys, we want you. But it's like, but you're putting men and women's sports and we don't want that, but you still push for it. You're still voting to for that to happen when we told you we don't want that, right?
Yes.
It's that and I'm just using that as an example because it's very simple.
You know, you're correct, Doc, because it's called a diversion. You blame somebody for doing something that you really want to do, but then you say you were doing it, Doc, but yet and still I'm doing exactly what I said I did not want you to do. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm telling the people, American people and patriots across this country, this psychological warfare, what they're doing right now with President Trump, is the fact that you would think that with all the immigration problems that we've seen and everything, the murders of American citizens, Lincoln Riley, and all the other people who have been murdered, the crime, uh, the distribution of taxpayer dollars, the disrespect that mayors like Mayor Johnson have done to the citizens and taxpayers of Chicago, the Mayor Wu of Boston. All of these mayors have been using psychological tactics against the American citizens in order to continue to lie, cheat, and steal, because the reason why that they're fighting so hard is because most of the Democratic Party and a lot of Republicans who are rhinos have been stealing taxpayers' money for years.
Yeah.
And now that Elon Musk is using this forensic audit, they're tracing the money back to its origins, Doc.
Mhm.
And now that they see that this money is going to be exposed, they're trying to get the American people to think, and this is why I'm saying to the American people and patriots across this country, the responsibility of the politicians are to go to Washington and do the business for the American people, what we want them to do, and not what they want to do. And now that this audit is being done, we're seeing how the Democrats now are continuing the psychological fight to try to make us think that Trump is wrong. Doc?
Yeah. I mean, we're really starting to see in real time the difference between the elites and the masses. And they truly have, drawn the line and made it known that they are separate from us. And our
Yes,
politicians do feel that they are elite and that we are the masses and that they have to dumb things down for us and that we just don't understand how government works. No, we know exactly how
exactly.
it works. And it's a criminal organization. Unfortunately, you're worse than the mafia because you're
Yes,
doing it under the Constitution. That's the
yes.
problem.
And so, Doc, what I'm going to do is there has been a ruling, and this is why I say to the American people and patriots, the Democratic Party is taking President Trump to court for
Mm.
so many different reasons. One, they want to stop Elon Musk with the audit. Two, you're talking about why would the Democratic Party file lawsuits against the present day administration? Because they're deporting illegal aliens out of our country. And so
Right.
this is the thing right here that we're seeing right now, that this psychological warfare, that we got to make the American people think that Trump is bad, that Trump is a racist, that Trump is going to put, especially the black people, they're going to put you back in chains if you don't let us get back in. So, Doc, I'm going to play this clip, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
The White House Deputy Chief of Staff, is here with me now. Stephen, thanks very much for being in the arena.
Glad to. Thank you.
So you called the judge's order just earlier today, quote, patently unlawful, end quote, and said that it was an assault on democracy itself. Does that mean that the administration is ignoring this order, and might you ignore future court orders that meet the criteria you laid out?
The President of the United States and his administration reserve all rights under the Constitution to conduct national security operations in defense of the United States. The Alien Enemies Act, which was passed into law by the founding generation of this country, men like John Adams, was written explicitly to give the president the authority to repel an alien invasion of the United States. That is not something that a district court judge has any authority whatsoever to interfere with, to enjoin, to restrict, or to restrain any way. You can read the law yourself. There's not one clause in that law that makes it subject to judicial review, let alone district court review.
So, Stephen, when you say that this person has no authority at all, this is how our system.
Doc, I want to pause it and let us make some remarks, okay? Now,
I should not laugh at this person.
I know the chief of staff has put down the law,
Right.
the alien law that was written well before Donald Trump and all the rest of this country. Our forefathers created this law, and this is why I'm explaining this to the American people. And so what the Democrats are doing here is because they've used one of the Democratic judges to try to put an order forth to stop President Trump from using his powers to deal with the illegals and deport these people who have invaded our country. Talk a little bit about that, Doc.
Yeah, it's very sad. This judge does not have jurisdiction, and jurisdiction basically means the authority in a certain location or at a certain level. He does not have jurisdiction to call out the president and say, hey, you can't do this and you can't do that. President Trump is within his legal authority as the president to actually carry out laws. We are always talking about the laws that we have on the books, but they're not necessarily put forward. We're not necessarily, making a move with these laws, and he's actually using it. And you would think people would have respect that they went back to 1789 and said, hey, we have this on the books, we just need to enforce it. And so now they're saying, well, no, we can't, deport people that are making war with us, because war is actually with verbal words. It's not necessarily with physical combat. And I need people to definitely understand that. It can be with words, it can be with certain actions, and you can use people with war activity, especially when it's under an invasion. And we were literally invaded. There were so many federal laws violated actually at the executive level while President Biden was in office that, our heads were spinning like, how is he able to do these things? This isn't lawful. That's not lawful. But he was able to get away with it because he had other actors supporting what he did.
And you're correct, because what the Biden administration did was, because they had the majority both in the House and in the Senate, they were able to just force whatever they wanted to on the American people. With all the transgender laws that they made, monies that they've been hiding, even in the military. There's a lawsuit that has been filed against President Trump regarding transgenderism in the military, where a lot of homosexuals join the military just to use taxpayer dollars to get sex changes. Because, with the health insurance as the military, what the Biden administration did was covered these changes for military homosexuals. And so that's why we saw such a big influx of homosexuals going to the military, so that they could get these operations done on themselves, and it wouldn't cost them nothing, and the taxpayers would be paying for it. I want to play a little bit more of this clip now.
Okay.
It starts with these judges and then continues up. At what point does it become, in your view, legal for the justice system to be looking at this and making a judgment? And I fail to see how there's any other way but to start with where we're starting here before you get to eventually the Supreme Court.
Well, so first of all, there's a term in law, justiciable. This is not justiciable. In other words, this is not subject to judicial remedy. When the president is exercising his Article II powers to defend the country against an invasion, or to repel a foreign terrorist that is unlawfully in the country. He's exercising his core Article 2 powers as commander-in-chief.
Is Venezuela
Now,
invading the U.S.?
This is a very important point. This is a Title 50 authority. It's a commander-in-chief authority. So just to ask you a simple question, you talk about how the system works. Does a district court judge have the right to direct or enjoin troop movements overseas? Yes or no?
Well, Stephen, my question.
She's not going to answer.
My question first,
in other words,
is Venezuela invading our country in a way that
Okay, can we
would-
stop and pause
Yes,
it right
yes.
there? Okay, I want to mention something about Venezuela. My husband and I were recently on vacation and we went to Aruba and they said, you know, do you see those mountains over there? That's Venezuela. And just understand that there are people that swim 15 miles to get to Aruba. And you know what they do with those individuals? They send them right back. They send them right back because they are not citizens of Aruba and they violated their border. Okay.
Exactly.
They send them right back. There's no questions. They're like, you are not from here and you need to go home. And that's it. So for her to say something like that, it was like, yeah, they violated the law, ma'am. They're here illegally.
Yes. And to add to that, Doc, look at this situation. This is why I'm talking to the American people, the patriots across this country. While you're watching this show, look at this situation with CNN. The White House chief of staff have already quoted the law and the powers of the president of the United States.
Yes.
That this judge has no jurisdiction over his decision making, and yet here we are. We have a person of the media who should be concerned more about the welfare of the United States of America. She should be saying and celebrating the fact that we are deporting murderers and thieves and all sorts of killers out of our country, but yet she's sitting here trying to mind screw the American people to make them think that President Trump is doing something wrong by exercising his powers as president. And this is what I call the psychological warfare. They're trying to make us think that, okay, wow, you know what? Trump is wrong. And yet the chief is saying this is all by law. Your thoughts, Doc, and we'll get a little more of this.
Yeah, you know, I'm really appreciative of Stephen Miller because he gave the law, he gave context, and he gave the whys and the why nots. And she's trying to trip him up to make it seem like the judiciary has a say in this, and they don't. You know, we have to remember in the branches of government, it's the legislation, the administration, which is the executive branch, then the judicial. It is only the role of the judicial to settle matters when they come in conflict with the Constitution. This action is not in conflict with the Constitution. It was actually written into law under our Constitution so that we could be safe as a sovereign nation. So let's just say we're going to, you know, go with her logic, and the judiciary gets to, you know, every single time they feel that the president, whoever the president is, isn't acting in their capacity, can stop them. That doesn't make sense. Just me saying it doesn't make sense, but that's her logic.
Well, this is the last halt that the Democratic Party has, and to the American people and patriots across this country, as they continue to expose this waste, fraud, and abuse, you're going to see more frivolous lawsuits being filed that doesn't make sense. And it is only to try to fuel and paint President Trump as a racist, because they have nothing else from this point. They've been busted, they've been caught, they've been stealing, they've changed laws behind our back, they've used psychological warfare on the American people, and now that President Trump is in office, he's removing all the things that they had done that has been totally illegal, including this invasion of the illegal aliens. We're going to go a little bit more on that, and we're going to move on, Doc.
Okay.
Under the terms of the statute, Tren de Aragua is an alien enemy force that has come here as detailed at length in the proclamation at the direction of the Venezuelan government. The statute says that a president has the ability to repel an invasion or predatory incursion that is directed by a foreign
state
government.
or a government, right? Are they a state or a government?
Yes, it is documented. The TDA was sent by the Venezuelan government in the proclamation. And here's an even more important point. Under the Constitution, who makes that determination? A district court judge elected by no one, or the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy? The president and the president alone makes a decision of what triggers that determination.
So do you then
in the
think we
statute.
are actually at war with Venezuela, the nation state of Venezuela?
You're not hearing me, and you're not understanding me. Read the statute, Alien Enemies Act, 1798. It says if a predatory incursion is perpetrated by a foreign government, so it lists three qualifying actions. It could be an act of war.
It does say in the very beginning there has to be a declared war against a nation or a state. That's what it says.
No, wrong. Look up the statutes on my account on social media.
That's actually where we found it earlier.
No, they didn't read it all the way through.
It says or a predatory incursion, or an invasion. The statute delineates three criteria,
separate events,
for triggering the Alien Enemies Act. One is an act of war, which, by the way, an invasion is an act of war, but put that aside. One is an invasion, which this is. One is a predatory incursion, which this is. So it actually meets all three statutory criteria.
Yes.
But with respect to this particular statute, the proclamation is utilizing the incursion and invasion language in the statute.
So,
but this is a very important question, because no, hold on. It's a very important question. You said the way our system works is the President of the United States commands the armed forces of the country, commands the foreign policy of the country, and that's subject to district court review. That is fundamentally untrue.
I never said that, Stephen. I did not say.
That has never been true.
This was not a military operation. I mean,
a district court judge can no more enjoin the expulsion of foreign terrorists to foreign soil, that he can direct the movement of Air Force One, that he can direct the movement of an aircraft carrier, that he can direct Marco Rubio to engage in diplomacy in a country or not.
Do you think the Supreme Court has any say over this or not? Like, does the Supreme Court of the United States have any say over the things that you were just outlining right here?
No.
I believe what the SupremeUrt will say is what I just said, which is that the president's conduct here is not subject to judicial review.
But you are acknowledging that they do, in fact, have a say here.
Well,
they don't.
Even though you think they may agree with you.
They don't at all.
They actually don't.
That's enough of that.
It's wild. You know it's wild. She's just like, but it's like, no. Listen to what he just said. The judge cannot tell Air Force One where to go. The judge cannot tell troops where to go because he's not the president of the United States. And this is a district court judge, and they're actually calling for his impeachment, which I'm actually really great.
And they should, because we should be more concerned about the welfare of the country. And this is what I'm telling the American people and patients across this country. This is all about psychological warfare. Mm-hmm. Even though the Miller is giving us the law straight to our face, he's telling her this is exactly what the law is. These are the reasons that can trigger the law that are there, and that you should be opposed to trying to find ways to trip me up and make me think, so that the American people will think that President Trump is wrong and doesn't have power, that this judge will be able to tell him what to do. And I mean, this is what has been played on, and this is what has been done to the American people for the last 5 years, on how they've really tried to change the way we think and get us to accept all of these abomination lifestyle, all these illegal laws that they put in place, all of this stuff to the American people and patriots across this country. We should be adamantly really pissed off at the Democratic Party, because they implemented all of this stuff with those rhinos, and this is our country. They work for us, and now that they're being exposed, now they're trying to find ways to try to trip President Trump up. Do you actually, Doc, let me ask you this question. Do you actually think that the American people, same thing to the American people in patriots, this question goes to you watching the show, do you actually think that the Biden administration did right by the American people, Doc?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They had an agenda. And so, a lot of people don't think about the Green New Deal that turned into Build Back Better. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, the roads were getting better, and things were being built. But if you actually read within that law, it actually made certain people terrorists. Okay, that was one part of that bill. The other thing it did is it cut off our energy supply. Okay. So, and then the other thing it did was it actually empowered people who violated the law of crossing over our borders. It empowered them, and they were actually put into legislation in the Inflation Reduction Act. And they were also put into the Appropriations Act. And like I said, and I've been saying this, in the 2020-21 Appropriations Act, they set aside $12 billion for unaccompanied minor aliens. A lot of these things were going on under our nose because of COVID.
Yes.
COVID was the cover
Yes.
for this massive exchange of wealth. And a lot of times, and it's interesting because the Democrats are saying that right now, oh yeah, the wealth is being exchanged. No, you know what it's being exchanged back to? The American people.
Exactly.
And that's what they don't want. They need us to be debt slaves. And that's
Well,
sad to say, but they need us as debt slaves so that they can rule over us. See, the Democratic Party, they just need to really take off their full mask. They want to rule over people. They do not want to serve people. They want to tell people what they're supposed to have, what they should have, and what they shouldn't have. And
Well-
that's where the Democratic Party is at right now.
Well, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying, to the American people and patriots across this country. We've actually seen what they've done. Now that President Trump is in office, he's exposing all of these things on all the legislation that they changed. You're talking about how they used the slush funds with the U.S. aid and the Board of Education. All of these things are being exposed right now. And the Democratic Party, to the American people and patriots across this country, especially Black citizens who have been going to the polls in previous elections, voting for the Democratic Party for over 60-some years, and we never have gotten anything to help us rebuild our communities. We haven't got even legislation to stop people from killing us. Like, I remember some Chinese people got killed some years ago in Atlanta, and all of a sudden the next day they had an anti-Chinese killing bill, okay? But yet we see Black people getting killed every day in and day out by each other or at the hands of the police, and there has not been one bill that have been written to make it possible so that Black people, when you kill Black people, you're going to serve the law to the fullest extent. And so you have to do exactly what you've been doing to other communities. You have to make it the crime in killing a Black person so harsh it will make another person think, or an officer think, before they kill a Black person, like they've been doing, without no good cause. And I think this only shows the bias of the Democratic Party and what they've allowed to happen. And they capitalize. Their whole mission is to capitalize on tragic events in the Black community and get us all riled up, the Black Lives Matter and all, like they're going to do something. But Black people, remember George Floyd? It was a dope addict that died that day. He was not a hero for the Black community. He was used as a pawn, and they made him this so-called hero to suck millions and millions of dollars out of the American taxpayers, to use George Floyd as a way to riot, to loot. Remember, Doc, all the rioting and looting?
Yeah, because the only thing that got repaid to the Black community after George Floyd was, oh, we're going to flood your communities with immigrants.
Yes.
And we're going to give them all of the resources that we told you we didn't have for you.
Well,
that was the repayment from the Democratic Party after George Floyd, in my opinion.
Yes, and it was, because I want the American people and patriots across the country really pay attention, because when they did this invasion, all the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, they had it all set up in place. They started robbing programs just like USA. They started robbing different programs for Red Cross, Catholic charities, rental assistance programs for the Americans. After we came out of COVID, Americans were so down on their luck, a lot of them was facing evictions, right? Couldn't pay the rent, you couldn't work, everything was shut down. And so now, when we started to make the comeback, just like here in Illinois, J.B. Pritzker took billions of dollars out of the rental assistance program. They took billions of dollars out of the housing, the federal housing programs. the Democratic Party across the country robbed all of our programs, just like when North Carolina had the tornadoes. There was no money there to help the American citizens because the governor had taken all the money out of the programs like the Red Cross to help the citizens and gave it to the illegal aliens. Your thought, Doc?
Yeah, and like I said, it's very much insult to injury. And I don't know if you caught this, but when we did our last show, some of the mayors referred to these individuals as residents. Right?
Yes.
They didn't refer to them as migrants. And then the names keep changing because to
Yes.
see if they call them residents, then they can couple them in with citizens. That's why I kept saying no. She needs to say the word citizen because citizen is in the Constitution,
Right.
not residents. And so they were not covered by the Constitution.
Mhm.
I don't want to say they were literally making things up as they went along,
They
but
did.
they were harming people as they went along. Like one of the mayors on that board spent $2 million prepping for that meeting with the House. $2 million
That now see
of
that
city money to prepare for a meeting? What is going on?
well, because they are going to divert that $2 million back into their pockets. See, they've used programs inside their cities to justify doling a lot of money into the program and then pulling it out on the back end. The mayor that whoever used that $2 million, it didn't do no good because of the simple fact is the law is the law, right?
Right.
And they broke the law. And now
Yeah.
they're aiding and abetting criminals. And the
Yeah.
American people, I'm saying, we need to stand with President Trump. We don't need to hear no more of this foolishness. And when we see this stuff on TV by CNN and MSNBC and all the rest of these news agencies, they're not going to do this. They're not going to tell the American people exactly what it means. And that's what we're doing here with our shows at the Truth Be Told Network. We're breaking it down so the American people can see just how bad and how far gone the Democratic Party is as far as trying to keep, especially Black people, under their thumbs to keep lying and using us and destroying our communities, destroying our schools, lying about creating economic wealth in the Black community. The Democratic Party has done nothing for Black people but use us. And now that they're being exposed, they need to use Black people again right now. Black people, we see what the Democratic Party is about. Now they need to use us and our anger to come against President Trump to try to make everybody think that President Trump is wrong. Now, I want to get a question from you, Doc.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the Democratic Party? Because this is where I'm at. I will never, ever, as long as I live, and anybody that knows me, I do not lie, cheat, or steal. And one thing about me as a pastor, I stand firm on what is right. What we've seen from the Democratic Party is unrighteousness. They've come against God. They came against our children. They promoted homosexuality. They caused an invasion into our country. It was all done under the Democratic leadership. I would never, ever, under God's earth, ever vote for the Democrats again. And to me, after what we saw and how they've been exposed, and I'm telling the American people and patriots across this country, watch this show and share it. But more importantly, think about the psychological stuff that's happening to us and then take a look at what the Democratic Party is doing. Doc, I'll give you a chance to respond to that before I play this next clip.
Well, I think they've overplayed their hand. You know, they're now trying to use a video where they keep using this tag phrase in this moment. And you'll kind of see things going around different, politicians that are out there at the Democratic Party. But they overplayed their hand because, see, they thought we were like the Netherlands. And they thought we were like France. And they thought we were like Switzerland or even Australia. And see, in those countries that I listed, they don't have a constitution like we do, where we, the people, we are in a republic. And that's where they failed because, see, they thought they could bring in all of these individuals here illegally and keep them here. It's called replacement migration. And it's happened in other countries because they don't have the constitution that we have. This is why people look at our country as that bastion of truth. You may not always agree with President Trump. I don't agree with him all the time, but I do respect the policies that he's putting forward to save our country. And a lot of people say, well, he's not saving our country. Actually, he is. Because,
Yes,
see,
he
they're
is.
not in your neighborhood killing your children or abusing your wife or your husband. Okay. Without him removing these individuals, that's where we were headed to next. See, just because it didn't hit the gated community yet
Yes,
doesn't mean it
yes.
wasn't going to hit the gated community.
Oh,
They were just put in the lower communities first. And
and,
that's the problem.
and let me bring our other guest in.
Hey,
Welcome, Brother
Andre.
Bonds. How
How
you
you
doing?
doing? Sorry, I'm
Good.
running a little late.
Not a
That's
problem.
okay.
Meeting that,
You looking
ran
dapper,
over.
boy.
I know, right? A little tired.
Hey, this is in the office Wednesday, so like
Okay.
You know, let's give Andre a quick overview. We've been talking about the legislation that this judge has done to try to deter President Trump from bringing in the Immigrations Act, the one that said that, you know, all of this is illegal, that he has the power. It is his power to be able to make decisions regarding the Treasury, regarding all the departments that he is in control of. And yet we got a district judge trying to force an issue that was not, he doesn't have any power over it, but people at CNN are trying to say that, to show the American people that Trump is trying to break a federal judge orders. Your thought on that, Andre?
Well, Pastor Laurie, it is more of the same, because it's not just the judges, it's the Congress people, it's some of the voters. It's just a narrative of, we're just going to resist because President Trump is in power, or we're going to resist because we don't like what's happening right now. And we have to get over this this resist just because we're PO'd mentality, because what's happening is you're preventing the work from getting done. And a lot of the immigration advocates are saying, hey, we don't like what's going on. We don't like these drastic changes. Well, every 4 years, there's going to be drastic changes unless we get long-term legislation. And the way that we get long-term legislation is we have to get the 60 votes in the Senate. So all this resisting, all this pushback, it's not getting anything done. It's just making people go further into their corners, and we have to get through this.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that I was talking about is that, you know, you were thinking when we had, see, this is why I say politics have gotten so far off base. It's because no matter what party you belong to, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. Your interest is working for the American people, not for themselves. And so this only shows the American people and patriots across this country just how far gone that our politicians have gotten, to the point where they would open our borders and let our country be invaded at taxpayers' expense. They would send stuff into our schools, the homosexual, the transgenders in our armies. I mean, everything that the Democratic Party has done under the last 4 years of their power, they have been doing it against the American people, physically and psychologically. And that's what we're talking about on the show today, is the fact that here at Let the Truth Be Told Networks, we're going to have shows like Mr. Barnes' show with Number USA, like Dr. Shack show, like this show right here today, that you can tune in and get the truth and get the breakdown of the truth. Doc?
Yeah, you know, like I said, they've overplayed their hand. And now the Democratic Party they're in panic mode, you know, as they should be. I mean, right now they're at 27% approval rating. AOC has 11% of that at a favorable rating within the party. So she is now the party leader. She is who everybody's looking to make changes. And that's because she's, at least, you know, love her or not, she's been consistent with her message to young people. And she definitely is about socialism. She's left of Bernie, which is crazy, and he's a socialist. But that's where they are right now. And they don't see the damage that this can cause, because, see, right now you're comfortable. And this is what I call entitlement, right? These are entitlement politicians. They feel like, okay, we're here and we deserve to be here and we deserve to, in essence, rule over you. And that's where the Democratic Party is right now. We just have to, take that pill and swallow it. That is where we are at. No more making excuses for these people. They do feel like they can rule over us, tell us what we need, what we want, and we, the people, don't have a say anymore.
Your thoughts, Andre?
Yeah, and Dr. Noni, she's done it again. She kind of answered one of my questions that I always had, because there were some voters that were voting for AOC, but they were also voting for President Trump, and it goes to what Dr. Noni was saying about the consistency. They're both consistent in what they're doing, and right now President Trump is around like 40%, 47% on immigration policy and people approving of what he's doing. And here's the thing, with that approval, you have a lot of Democrats that are just doubling down on the policies that America voted against, and then some of their voters are getting really upset because they don't feel that the Democrats are pushing back hard enough. So here's our mission right now, and you talking about the different shows on Let the Truth Be Told network. We really have to attract new audiences to hear what we're saying, so that people are getting out of their own echo chambers, because this is a problem. Like, people are staying in their echo chambers and they're doubling down, resist, and it's not getting anything done. So I am hopeful that we're able to attract a lot of new viewers to this show, and that people tell their friends about it, because this network is going to bless so many people with additional information. Because it's just like, you don't have to be all Democrat or all Republican. We need people from both sides. Like, this is why I'm getting so frustrated with what's going on with immigration policy. This is what I'm getting frustrated with some of the Jasmine Crockett's and some of the gatekeepers at some of the universities, because we need each other to get policy done, to make America great, or to make America, to have the American dream. We need people on all sides. So us fighting each other right now is not helping the situation.
And let me play this clip, because I want to put this clip in there. We got a couple more we're going to do too. But I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. Let's talk about this.
This polling was interesting. This is whether Democrats should work with the GOP or stop the Republican agenda. But what I want you to look at here is how this has changed. And back in 2017, 74% of Democrats said they should work with the GOP. Now, 57% say they should stop the Republican agenda. There has been a complete shift in the mindset of the Democratic Party. They want resistance. They want a Tea Party.
100%. And what you just said, we should listen to the people. You said, as a congressman, am I correct in saying that? You just said we should listen to the people. Why aren't they listening to the people? There's no leadership. There's nobody doing anything. And what we saw, honestly, was a cave. Yet again, another example with Schumer saying, I don't want the smoke. And we're asking, I mean, they are begging. She just showed the dramatic shift. I don't understand what the problem is. Why is there nobody, for lack of a better word, with some cojones to stand up and say, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Well,
if
look,
you know we need it, and I'm not trying to give you the smoke, but if you know we need it, why is it not happening?
Look, we need to throw a punch. That's correct. And the American people want us to throw a punch.
By the way, your political punch, not
punch,
little.
I want to. I stopped that.
Why are they so violent all the time? It's crazy. Why is it always, we got to burn something down, we got to hit somebody, we got to throw a rock, Molotov cocktail? I'm just saying, like, what are we doing?
Dre?
Yeah, and my whole thing is, they're as I was saying earlier, they're doubling down. It's all resistance. But here's the thing. They're talking about smoke. And, if you get your behind kicked in a fight, you don't want that smoke.
Right.
You should go back in. And if you do want some more of that smoke, because maybe it didn't register the first time, you should really come in with a different strategy. But this is why they're having problems, because they're not coming in with a different strategy. Why are they not going to the negotiating table? This is my problem with what's happening now.
And then, too, guys, my whole problem is this. It's all about the American people.
Right.
It's all about taking care of the taxpayers.
Right.
This war that the Republicans and the Democrats have been having for years, and the American people have become collateral damage.
Yep.
There has been nothing that has been positive since President Trump got into office. We saw that it was like a whole totally different shift when he got into office. I don't know about y'all, but I started feeling like America was back on the right track again. That's how I started feeling. When he made all those laws and those executive orders, returning us back to the way it used to be before Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the Democrats started this psychological war to promote all the different lifestyles and all the things that they did. Your thoughts, either one of you guys?
Well, the one thing he did, and I've been telling people this, is like, yeah, he can write all these executive orders, but if we as a people, just as a country, if we don't do what's right, we're not going to have a country. It's not just all on one person. Yes, with a stroke of his pen, he can change these things. But if in our communities, in our schools, and, just our everyday work lives, if we're not doing what's right, this country will fall apart.
Right.
Right. And with that in mind, we have to work together to really push for legislation of the executive orders that we want to see, for a long period of time.
Mhm.
The Congressional Black Caucus has what's called an executive order tracker. So they have all the executive orders that Trump has by category, by subject. And then they go in, give you a brief description. They give you their thoughts about it and how it affects the Black community. And I looked at this and I'm just like, they are so far off base. If you haven't seen this, Pastor Laura, you need to check it out because
wow,
they're just so far outside of reality. It's just weird.
So how do they explain immigration? Like, I haven't seen it yet, but I just want to know. Like, how do you explain it's okay for your community to get invaded?
Well, the changes to birthright citizenship, one part that they were focused on was that it would make it harder for Black immigrants to come to the United States, and the United States would not be part of the global community.
Okay, that's UN talk. That's UN speak.
Exactly.
Okay,
and why are we focused on being a part of the global community, and how does that affect Black Americans? I don't know.
Because they have to use us. We are the catalyst to all of their causes, but they never want to really help us, right? Because there always has to be a problem that you have to run on. If you fixed every problem in the Black community, they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. They really would not know what to do with themselves. It's like, do we even need to show up to work anymore? Because we've solved everything.
Right.
Like, we're done here.
Well, organizations like the Black Caucus, what are their purpose? They serve, and to Black people watching this, anytime an organization like the Urban League, the Black Caucus, the NAACP, all these ACLU, all of these organizations got their start by supposedly to help the Black community. They didn't get started to help the illegals come in here. They didn't get started to help the NGOs. Their mission was to ensure that the Black community was created fairly, civil rights work. They were supposed to help create economic development, like the Black Caucus. They should be worrying about the Black community not being economically sound. The NAACP should be more concerned about violations of civil rights for Black people because they've been violating them ever since their existence. And so to Black voters out here now who have gotten a rude awakening, who are sons and daughters still locked up in jail, they got your kids in school at 5 years old teaching them how to be homosexuals or demanding that they know the difference between a transgender and a bisexual. All of this stuff has been done under the Democratic leadership with these fake organizations like the Black Caucus, NAACP. They all should be disbanded. The American people, especially Black citizens, should no longer invest money into these organizations because they do not benefit the Black community. Either one of y'all can jump on that.
No, and it's unfortunate, and it's interesting that they talk about, Black people, from other countries. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these organizations are run by people that are not Black Americans. They
Yes.
are from other
Absolutely.
countries. They're melanated, right? But they are not Black Americans. They are not
Mhm.
Negroes. And so, when Andre said that, I was like, oh yeah, I know who this is for. Y'all are mad because you don't have a claim to this country. You
Right.
do not have a claim here. So you can't kick your own selves out, right? You can't, you got to be opposed to this, but you need us to support you. We're
Yes.
not supporting that anymore. We're not going to support our demise. Never.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% what you said. And, things are really changing. And a lot of these immigrants, whether they're Black or other races, they're all wondering about their standing because they came here
Mhm.
illegally. Now we're not even sure if their children are going to be here long term because they're
Right.
pushing back against the birthright citizenship for people that come into the country illegally and then have kids. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes. And like I was reading this article about this lady from Denver that was an illegal immigrant, and
Yes.
she came into the country and then became an activist.
Mhm.
And and the crazy part is that Time Magazine listed her as one of the 100 great people of the year
Uh-huh.
because he decided that she was going to go to a church and avoid ICE. And they did everything in Denver to keep her out of ICE's hands during the first Trump campaign. Once
Right.
Biden got in, they didn't have to worry about it.
Right.
And then Trump came back and they finally got her. They caught her at work. But as I was reading through it, a lot of the because there were multiple authors on this, and the authors were saying, like she has like a nonprofit. She's been contributing to the community, but then they also said that she had broken the law by using falsified information to get a job. Which
Yes.
they alluded to the fact that she took somebody's social security number to get a job, and that is a crime. That is a crime.
Yes.
And whoever, I don't know how many of our viewers have dealt with identity fraud. I've dealt with identity fraud, and it
Yes.
is hard to clear
Yeah.
your name. And once you clear it out of one department, you have to go and do research and invest
Yes.
all this money to like
Mhm.
get yourself out of the situation. So they can't take lightly that just because someone's not violent, that they're not that they should have standing to be here. No, if they came here illegally, they need to be
Deported.
deported. And then if they do the proper paperwork or get some sort of grievance, they can come back the legal way. But ultimately, if you're deported, a lot of times you're not coming back. So
Yeah.
Yep.
they knew the consequences, and people can't just look
Mm.
past the consequences and be like, well, our laws are really not, we don't really enforce those laws. No, we're enforcing them now. So
Well,
people
Now,
are
was this person here for over 30 years? Is that the
yes,
same?
that's what I was just gonna say.
yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
she was here for over 30 years, and then her kids were just like, yeah, we need our mom back, and I was
No,
like, well,
no.
you
You
need to
can go
go
with
with
your
her.
mother.
They
You
needed
can
to
go
Because
with
put
y'all
the
here
kids
illegal
through.
too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
This
here
was a
illegal
group
too.
effort. Yeah,
Yes.
no.
Because
And if she does stay here, then they can bring her back once they're 18. They can
but
sponsor her to come back, and
the thing,
Denver will definitely allow that. And if the next administration will probably allow that if
well, you're
yeah,
right. You're right,
if it's
Dre.
not like a Republican group. So
We need to have legislation for long term.
yeah.
Because first of all, as a birthright citizen, if you are not Black, then you're illegal, because the birthright was written for Black Americans who were already citizens but who
Yep.
migrated to different places. Okay, so that law stands to the way it is. Secondly, if you're illegal, see, this is the problem that I have with a lot of the illegals. They are so brazen that you could be here 30 years. You can steal, because she stole somebody else's social
Yeah.
security number.
Yep.
She's working under somebody else's name, and
Yeah.
now she has the audacity to sit here after 30 years of being illegal, know that she wasn't supposed to be here. She's got money. She done made tons and tons of money. She done got families. She's probably brought other illegals here that are here now.
Yeah.
Or advise them on what to do to get themselves out.
Yeah. She needs to be repelled from this country forever. Like, you can't come back, and your children need to be deported with you because you had them here illegally.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even get naturalized in 30 years.
Exactly. That's the point that I was making, because if you've been here 20 years, that means that you didn't even respect our country enough to go become a real citizen.
Right.
See,
and if there's some sort of like clerical block or something, this is why we need to come to the negotiation table, because people shouldn't be here 30 years and not be able to get into become a citizen. So if that's the case, if that's the way things that how things are running, then Democrats need to come to the table, Republicans need to come to the table, independents need to come to the table and figure out how to fix that, secure the border, and get the long-term legislation.
Well, it's because the systems don't talk to each other. Yeah, the systems don't talk to each other. And this is what Doge is finding out. So the Treasury doesn't talk to the Social Security office. The Social Security office, you think they would talk to immigration, but they don't. Yes. And so that is how people can steal somebody else's Social Security number and go under the radar for decades and be in this country, because the systems don't talk to one another.
Well, you know, I have been in communicado with some people from the DOJ, and right here in Illinois, the Climate Equitable Jobs Act is a program that President Trump had millions of dollars set aside for minorities who've been in jail, who've been in nursing homes, not nursing homes, but the shelters, for people who have not had an opportunity to get trades and learn in schools. This program have billions of dollars in it, and it has been set aside. But what they have done is this: they made this program so that they can put illegals in it to get money. And what they're doing is they're getting black folks information. And I'm telling it right now. President Trump called me. I'm going to talk to Pam Bondi and them, but they're taking black folks' information, their Social Security numbers and all of that. And now they're not implementing the program like they said they were going to. Here it is, March, and a lot of people that I sent over to the program haven't even been called, and yet they're still got the money, and the money is flowing in these people's hands, and it's not benefiting the community. So we have to be careful now, especially when you say you got somebody's Social Security number. If you're here illegal, and that's what J.B. Pritzker did, said that if you were in the state of Illinois for a certain period of time, then you could change your name and get a Social Security number and work under that if we can't steal a black person identity for you. Guys?
Wow, that's a scary. And it's happened. You know, Elon Musk already saw where, you know, we've got people over the age of 160 that are still receiving Social Security, right? And there was another attorney in Arizona had found out that a chicken factory, they had hired a bunch of people that were here illegally, and they used the same Social Security number for hundreds of people.
Wow.
And they were collecting the taxes off of that Social Security number. So Social Security has bankrolls of probably billions, maybe into the trillions of dollars, where Social Security numbers were used more than once. That means somebody's asleep at the wheel. Like, again, like I said, these systems don't talk to one another. And because of that, they're not looking for fraud. They're just like, oh, you have a Social Security number, I guess we need to give you a job. And that's it.
And those companies be using one Social Security number for 1,000 workers. Now, I want to play a clip right quick I want to get y'all response on it, because we got the time we want to. We got our own network now, so we ain't got to answer nobody's clock, okay? So I'm going to play this because to black people, I want you to see what Barack Obama said about illegal immigration. I'm going to play this clip. Now, think about this. This is y'all beloved Jesus Christ, who used black people. I'm just going to play it. Here we go.
Video just resurfaced, and the Democrats all continue to look like hypocrites.
I hope somebody's watching.
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws.
Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. If you're a criminal, you'll be deported. If you plan to enter the U.S. illegally, your chances of getting caught and sent back just went up. The actions I'm taking are not only lawful, they're the kinds of actions taken by every single Republican president and every single Democratic president for the past half century.
I told you so.
Guys, your thoughts on that right quick. I got another key up.
I'll let you go, Andre.
Yeah, no, I love that because we've seen a lot of changes on the approaches to our immigration policy, and we just really need to get back to common sense policies and stop playing the political games. We need to hold elected officials accountable, corporations accountable, so that we can protect the American people.
And the reason why I wanted to play that is because to the American people and patriots across this country, you would think that what President Trump is doing for us is to be able to clear our country out after the Democrats open the borders like that. And here we got one of the so-called most beloved presidents in the world who are now aiding and abetting illegals, because they've been helping the illegals in this country. Barack Obama and them have been doing it. But yet here in this clip, he's talking about the same theme that Trump and them talking about, shutting our borders. If you're here illegal, you're going to get thrown out. So this is what makes the Democratic Party so much hypocritical. Now that President Trump is actually doing what Barack Obama said. Barack Obama said, we got to secure our borders. We got to get all the illegals out. And yet he never did it himself. And now President Trump is doing it. And now they're looking for ways to try to say, well, President Trump is wrong. Well, why didn't they say Barack Obama was wrong when he continued to let the illegals come in, but he took a stand just to get the American people to think he was doing something when he really wasn't doing nothing? Either one of y'all, and I'm gonna add another clip in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, because it's Orange Man bad. That's why. And I know people play around with that whole, Trump derangement syndrome, but I'm like, that, you know what I'm saying? People keep verifying that that's a thing. People are extremely triggered by this individual, no matter what he does. He even said it in his speech. He goes, I could cure cancer and they would still be upset. And he's not wrong.
No,
because for them, it's personal. It's like, we cannot go along with you, because if we do, our lives are going to fall apart. And that's just a bitter root of hatred, right? And that means you hate yourself.
That's right. And I heard a good one too. Along with Orange Man Bad, I did an interview with someone that referred to the orangification of the White House, and I was just like, that was new. But what we've seen is hypocrisy. Okay? Yes. They'll say one thing one day when it's convenient, and then another thing another day when it's not convenient. So what needs to happen now is the Democrats, Republicans, Independents, they all need to stop playing games, because the American people are not falling for it.
Yes, we're awake.
Now, there's a newspaper. We can check to see what you said before.
Exactly.
So you can't just change up. And if you change up, you need to give people a reason.
Right, exactly. And you know what? That's so correct. And that's why I'm saying about our shows, and people are watching the show, the numbers are going crazy now because people are looking at it. Go to our channels and subscribe. David Lowe 1057 at Rumble. I'll give that out before we get out of here, because I got another clip I want to play. I want to say this, and this is what I'm saying about the Democratic Party. There's been politicians and Democratic leaders like Maxine Waters, who have been in Congress for about 100 years right now. And she has never done anything in California but accept a paycheck and steal money from U.S. aid, because that's where she's been getting her money for her programs, just like Stacey Abrams was stealing money. They froze that $2 billion. She didn't get a dime of that, and now she's under investigation. So I want to play a clip, because when President Trump shut down U.S. aid, Maxine Waters has been all over the airways talking about, we can't let him do this. We can't let him look at the records. We can't. And you would ask yourself, why is she doing it? I'm going to play a little clip of her talking about this situation to the Federal Reserve Chairman.
When Musk comes knocking at the Fed's door, you gonna let him in?
I don't have anything for you on that.
I know it. I know it. I know it. Would you like to tell us today that you won't let Doge into the Federal Reserve or have access to the systems and the data?
So I don't have any, we've had no contact, and I don't really have, I have nothing for you to report today on that.
Can you feel the tension in the air right now?
I have nothing for you to report today on that.
Wait, there's more.
You know what happened at Treasury, and you know what
Look
happened
at
over
her.
at the CFPB, and the people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us, our bank accounts, everything that in our lives. So I want to protect it in the Fed. Mr. Powell.
The engine's running, but there's nobody behind the wheel.
And we don't know what all they have on us.
Your thoughts, guys, because she just told on herself. She pretty much told the American people, we done stole so much money. And now that he's frozen all of these records, he's gotten all, because he did not go in for the taxpayers. To the taxpayers, Elon Musk did not go into the Treasury to look at your information. Your information is already public out there for anybody to find, okay? But what Maxine Waters is saying is that they have busted us. They done caught us. They done got the information that can send us to prison. So we need to know what they got on us. Your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, and just to the American people, just understand during an audit, the information is stagnant. So, Elon and his team, they can't go in and manipulate any information. All they can do is draw down information and basically make comparisons. And so that's what they're doing with their algorithms, is they're going in, making comparisons, seeing where the duplicates are, seeing what's actually in the budget line items. And then President Trump goes, okay, we can save money here. Obviously, this is more cost effective. Like, that's literally what's going on in a nutshell.
Andre?
Yeah, and it goes back to more of the resistance that we're seeing, because now that the heat's starting to be turned up, now you have like another activist judge that's like, well, maybe it wasn't constitutional for you to close U.S. aid, and we might have to bring back some of these employees, but what do you bring them back to if the department is closed? Like,
the department's not closed. The department has only been adjusted, right? It's now answering to the State Department, because what happened before is under the executive order, they weren't reporting to anybody. They weren't even reporting to the Senate. The senators were like, we can't even get information from you. And this is a literally an agency that was developed under an executive order. So it's not even into law. And so it went from 14,000 to roughly a little under 300 people. And they now report to the Secretary of State. They report to Marco Rubio. So the agency isn't gone, because he was like, there is some value in still having it, but we don't need these other 14,000 people to run the agency.
Well, those 14,000 people, most of them was hired by the Democrats, and they are part of, they're covering up, they're changing numbers, they're doing different things with contracts. Those 14,000 people were aiding and abetting the Democrats to steal the money from USAID, and it's a shame. Now I want to play a clip from Pam Bondi with the DOJ, and I'm doing it because I want the American people to actually see. You're not going to see this on the other news channels, or what we're doing here, breaking this down so that you can actually see what's happening, so you can know when you hear all this psychological warfare to hate Trump, these are the reasons why they hate President Trump.
Attorney General Pam Bondi says there's a reason why the Democrats don't want us to see what's really happening at the Treasury.
to see these states bringing suits about the information that is in that Treasury database, and they're saying that it's on concerns of hacking if that database gets shared or looked into. And when we look at the amount of fraud in the budget, sometimes $200, $300 billion in fraudulent payments that go out, do you see a potential for other states to decide that they want to sue the Treasury for not spending their tax dollars responsibly? I mean, could you see a flip of this suit?
Yeah, well, the president's going to prevail, sure, but the president, of course, is going to prevail. He's looking out for our tax dollars, and it's absurd that that's their best argument. Oh, we're worried about hackers. There's a reason they don't want the president nor Elon Musk to see what's happening at the Treasury, just like they didn't want us to see what was going on at USAID.
Yeah.
Guys,
And
your thoughts on
I
that?
find it interesting because even when Barack Obama and Joe Biden, when they did their audit, they never touched the Treasury.
They never.
They never talked about, even going near the Federal Reserve. So these people are literally terrified. They're like, they're going to find us out because that money will go directly to whoever's getting it.
Dre?
Yeah, it's a new day. They know that the jig is up, and they're sweating. And we're going to see once they finish their investigation what's been happening. All the stuff that's been happening in darkness is going to come to light.
Yes, it is. And Doc, you had you did a thing now because of the fact that Elon Musk, and this is why I love this show and I love this panel. What we doing? We breaking it down for the American people. Since Elon Musk has continued to expose them. See, most of the focus now is at Elon Musk. They're not talking about Trump. They're talking about Musk because they need to create Elon Musk to be a villain so that the American people can hate him like they've done with President Trump. But Elon Musk has been uncovering these things. And Doc, I want to play a clip that you put out there about actually what's going on with a Doge Quest. Here it is.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the Doge Quest platform. I recently heard about this afternoon, had no idea this existed. I'm just really at a loss for words that we have gotten to this point. We are officially creating websites to dox people and to harm their vehicles and to literally hold them hostage. You need to look at some of the verbiage that's going on where it says Doge Quest neither endorses or condemns any actions, right? And if someone wants their information removed from this site, here's the crazy part. It says, I want my information removed. Okay, great. Absolutely. Just provide us with proof that you sold your Tesla. You have to provide somebody with proof that you've done something? I mean, this is beyond. And this is why I'm saying we do need a new form of government against things like this, because this is not freedom of speech. This is terrorist activity. You are literally holding someone hostage, and you've already doxed them. Like if you go to this website, this is why I did a screenshot. But what I find so sick is that as Americans, we are running other people down because of their freedom to purchase a vehicle that they wanted to purchase. I'm not a huge electric vehicle fan. Doesn't matter if it's Tesla or Nissan or Toyota. It's not my thing. I like my gas vehicles, okay? But what I find disgusting is that because of your hatred of one person, you are literally going after other people. I need you to put this in perspective. Now, Donald Trump has already said that he would go forth with calling these individuals that are protesting the different dealerships, and now I'm sure the people that have made this website terrorists, because this is terrorist activity. This is not freedom of speech anymore. Once you get to the point where you are threatening people, this is terrorist activity. So I just want to let the people that think they're so fancy know, whoever created this wonderful website, you will be found by the FBI. You will be brought up on charges. You will go to prison. Like, this is not a thing that you can just go out and do. So I just want to let you know ahead of time, you're going to go to jail.
Doc, I'm gonna let you dropping it on them. Give us your thoughts on this, and Dre, I want your thoughts, and We're gonna go over that. Go ahead, Doc. Talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that.
But just in short, I heard about it, and at first I thought, this might be some Babylon Bee stuff. Let me check this out. Let me make sure this is accurate. And I went to the website myself, and you could literally hover over the little icons there that look like cars. And I thought, okay, maybe that's a dealership. No, that was actually somebody's home address, their first and last name, and their phone number. And
Wow.
there was another part in that video I didn't play out, but it actually showed how you can actually trace. They give you this, I guess, website you can go to so you're not traceable if you follow through with actions to dox someone. And so it's so much illegal activity going on there. I even I sent a tweet out yesterday about it, and I tweeted Cash Patel, and I'm like, you need to look into this because this is dangerous right now.
It is.
I had some friends of mine, we were sitting and having some dinner last week, and they were like, well, yeah, if somebody goes out and buy a Tesla right now, it's wrong. I was like, no, it's a car. It's a car.
Yes.
I don't care. And people should not be threatened because they decide to buy a Tesla. It's crazy.
Dre?
It is absolutely crazy what people in their minds decide to do once they think that they're in the right. And when I was in Boston, I was at this town hall, and the state legislator had to kind of calm one of the participants down because he wanted to clarify with her that, oh, we're going to resist, all right, but we're not going to do anything physical to anybody. We're not going to harm anyone. He wanted to clarify that. So people have gotten really weird, and they're taking actions against people who make a decision to purchase a car based on they like the vehicle. A lot of them probably don't even care about Elon Musk. They just like the vehicle. I think those cars look pretty cool on the road. They're very unique, and so I don't like that people are going after people because those people have family, those people are daughters, those people are sons, and they shouldn't be attacked because of a decision to purchase a vehicle.
Yeah, and they shouldn't feel threatened to have to sell it either.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's their end game? That's my whole thing about these protests. What's your end game? With the voting rights, when they protested, they were protesting for voting rights. I understood why they were protesting. This protest has no end game. That's why I call it terrorist activity. There's nothing behind or beyond your actions to actually cause a positive reaction. And that's usually what protests are designed to do.
That's right.
Well, this is another reason why I keep reiterating to the American people and patriots across this country. What we're showing you is the facts. We're showing you the facts of the ideology that the Democratic Party has been using to try to undermine the Trump administration. And this is why I say the Democratic Party should be disbanded, because they're actually promoting rioting. They're actually promoting people to go out with this website to damage a Tesla. That's crazy. And I think that at the end of the day, if somebody catch you damaging your Tesla, you could lose your life for that. And so the Democratic Party has, sunk down to a new low, which they've already been there, to promote violence and hatred the way that they've done, especially aiming it toward the Black community so Black people could get unrest. Doc, your last words. We got to get out of here. It's been great. We're going to continue this on.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. And definitely please check out the Redemption Party at usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for candidates to be servants of the people, not politicians, and members of the party. And just remember, I know it's crazy outside, but remember to look up towards heaven, for your redemption is drawing near.
Dre, your last words.
Yes. So I'm encouraging people to join Numbers USA. We have tools where you can track what your elected officials are, how they're voting on immigration. Immigration really does affect the Black community, and there's a lot of bills that need to be written. There's a lot of bills that are out there on the table now that need support. And if we're going to improve our system, we need Democrats and Republicans to come to the table.
And guys, I want to make sure that we keep it 100 all the time. I love you. Let's keep it going. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. What we're doing here, and let me say this to the American people and patriots across this country. This is our country. These are our tax dollars. These are our children who are being affected by it, not the politicians who we are paying. So to the American people and patriots across this country, this is the time for us to stand up and take our country back. No longer should we sit back and watch what they're doing, the lies, the cheating, and the stealing that they're doing toward President Trump, but we should be supporting him and making sure that we have a future for our children. That's what time it is. That's what we should be doing. This is not a matter of Democratic or Republican. This is a matter of the American people, and the Democrats and Republicans should be working together as one to make this country great again. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. Share it around. And we'll see you tomorrow.